So let's start off by a quick introduction about yourself and why this topic matters to you and to all of us here.
All right, so now it's my turn to talk.
Yes.
Well, firstly, I'm very pleased to be here. I just got back from a business trip to our headquarters in Atlanta. So it's very fun to be seeing our colleagues in the US, and now immediately here to see such a good group of people here in our Vietnam office. It's really, really great to be here. And I firstly want to thank you for being so nice and so kind in the introduction, but also the comms team and the admin team, as well as everybody who has helped with setting this up, especially on the technical side, because that's always a challenge operating globally. Getting everybody across the world to be online and participating in this kind of event. So for those who have known me a bit, you might be bored with this next few minutes about myself, but I think it's good for some of our newer team members, as well as our team globally to know a little bit about my background, so that the next section can be more relevant. So I grew up in Vietnam, but I actually have spent more time outside of Vietnam. By now, that is in Vietnam. I first left Vietnam for high school in Singapore. I spent a little over 5 years there. And then I went to the US for schooling, for university and postgraduate education. I first spent a lot of time in Boston, both studying there, really learning my first, learning a lot about, what I do now, but also getting my first job there. And my first job there was with a venture capital firm called OpenView Venture Partners. OpenView is based in Boston, and when I joined them, they were just starting out as well. So it was a good experience, learning a lot about investing, financial strategy, but also getting to know a lot of companies as part of my job in the technology world early on in the career. Then after a while, I decided that I want to expand my horizon, learn a little more about other skills, other aspects of the business of technology, the business of building software companies. So I actually proactively went out and looked for the next opportunities. And something that came up that was really good and it was a really good fit for my needs was a role at another company called User Testing. User testing was based on the other side of the United States. So Boston, as you know, is on the East Coast, next to the Atlantic Ocean. User testing was based in San Francisco, next to the Pacific Ocean. So it was a big shift going across the country, making a move and jumping into a totally new environment. The good thing was that the environment was also, the hub of innovation in the US. That was the heart of Silicon Valley. So I moved there and started working there as a leader in finance. And I learned a lot of new things through my experience there, and really had both great experience with colleagues, but also great learning experience, and had a chance to help build a company to a really successful level. And then after that experience, I decided that I want to be exploring the same entrepreneurship experience, group building companies and helping company growth, but really on a global basis. And I felt that the first place to start is actually going back home, going to Vietnam and try it out. And that's why I came back to Vietnam. Started to be exposed to the startup ecosystem here for a couple of years, and met with Nguyen and Vu in this office just about 13 months ago, roughly the same time, and fell in love with this office. So that's why I'm here, and I found I find that there's a lot of great things going for us at Katalon. I find that it is a place where a lot of us can make an impact, and it's also a unique opportunity in Vietnam. Unique opportunity, probably not just in Vietnam, but in this part of the world overall. So I was very excited to join and really felt that this is a place where we can make something really great and tell a great story. We are part of making a great story right now. So really excited about this and excited to share more about these thoughts about leadership, global working globally, and hopefully share some of the experience that will be helpful for you all.
I will double tap into your the diverse background later that makes you a global leader in a later part. But for this particular part that we are talking about the making of a leader, I just want to ask you one question of we often use the term of manager and leader interchangeably. So what do you think the misperception here, and what are the key difference that make a manager different from a leader?
Yeah, I think both roles are great, right? You need managers, you need leaders, you need operators, in any good organization. So there's not a value judgment here that say a leader is more important than a manager or is a different thing. But for this topic, right, we are talking about leadership here, and what inspired me to discuss this is that for me, a leader means somebody who leads, and that doesn't mean somebody who has a title of a manager, title of director, or even title of executive. You can be an individual contributor. You can be an intern and still be a leader. And I can share with you, when I was an intern, I was considered a leader. When I was in my second year in college, right, I went out and get the first real internship, and I felt empowered by my boss, by my manager. I felt empowered by the organization, and I felt empowered to lead in the area that I was working on. And I didn't feel that I need to have a title. I didn't feel that I had to even be a full-time employee there. So the first thing for me is that a leader really focus the qualities of a leader, the definition of a leader for me, at least, is about somebody who leads, somebody who inspires, and somebody who tries to make a change in the organization for the better, in what they do, in what their team works on, and in how they achieve their goals. And so, again, to me, everybody can be a leader. It doesn't come automatically with your title or with your authority. It comes with your ability to inspire through leading, to setting examples that other people can follow, or other people can emulate. And it's really about your value as well. You cannot be a leader of people, a leader of teams, if you don't have strong value and conviction, especially in the context of going to work, right? If you go to work and you don't feel super passionate about the work that you do, about the impact that you can make, it's very hard to lead and inspire other people. But if you do, then again, you don't need titles, you don't need hierarchy to make an impact. And I would just like to inspire everybody to think about that aspect of leadership.
Yeah. So for a lot of the audience here today, a lot of us are starting now at Katalon as their first job, their first internship, their first opportunity ever in their professional track. So let's walk us down the memory lane way back when Tien was just like a fresher, right? What are some of the turning moments for you that defined your career growth and as a leader today?
Well, that's I'm quite old, so it's gonna take a while to. This memory is run on floppy disk, not flash drive, so it's gonna take a bit of time. All joking aside, I think the first thing that I learned as a junior, at an entry level, a fresher or like an intern, was the concept of accountability and responsibility. That is, in the work environment, especially again when you're working and trying to make an impact and achieving something for the organization, you have to really own something. You really have to feel ownership of your output. And you have to take responsibility for both success but also failure and learn from it yourself, right? It's not a place where you go to school and you get graded, and if you pass your exam, that's great. No, it's your own achievement, it's your own growth as a professional that is at stake here. So you have to own that. And I think that's the first thing that I learned being a professional intern, being the first year analyst at a venture capital firm, for example. That the output that I own it ultimately. If nobody's gonna help me resolve it, my boss, my manager, my team member can help me. I can learn from them, but I need to own the result.
Absolutely.
So that was the first thing. And you know, as one grows as a leader in the organization, then the next level is owning the result of the team, right? Owning the result of the whole group of people that you work with. Again, you don't have to be a manager, but if you feel that your contribution, your work contribute directly to the team's output, and you feel ownership in that contribution, that's the next level. That's already starting on your path of being a leader. And then I think that's also a important understanding and important also to get to.
So being an individual contributor can also be a leader, and we also serving as a link in the whole chain. And then being a link in the whole chain, it comes with the influence. But then being an individual contributor, I can only think of the limited influence that we have as an individual contributor, because the power is less in our hands, right? I would like to challenge you on that.
Yeah, but again, my whole concept is leadership doesn't mean power, right? Because we have a whole career. Even for me, I have 30, 40 more years of work, right? I'm not going to be concerned about, do I still have more power in this next organization? Am I part of a 1,000-person organization, 10,000-person organization? Right? It's not. Right? What I care about is, am I contributing to doing something great? Am I contributing to a great organization where everybody's doing their best and I help them do their best? So I would agree that as a fresher, even as an intern, or as somebody who's a few years in, I didn't have the full range of authority. I feel sometimes frustrated. I felt frustrated sometimes myself when my manager didn't understand what I was trying to do. That some of the ideas that I came up with were not accepted. But then the next thing that I have to think about then is, well, firstly, what are other ways that I can make an influence without having to gain that power, right? Because again, I don't have to. And the second thing is, how do I help my manager, the person that will help enable that change for me, see my perspective, and maybe there's something that I can learn in the way I can influence them. So, right, being a leader is also about not just about leading other people. It's also helping other people inspiring other people, and helping others see your perspective and see your value. So it is a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. And if you master it, you are on the way to become a great leader. And I also want to take this opportunity to highlight, learning to be a leader, or learning just to be a good professional, somebody who really have a good career, is a lifelong thing. I've been working now for a while, but I still have a lot to learn. And I learn every time I come to work, every time I meet with somebody new at work, because I see their perspective and I see how they have come about, and I find a way to communicate with them and really work with them. So there's a lot to learn about leadership. There's many more levels. It's not like a video game where you can complete it in a year or in a couple of months. Keep going. And you learn new things, you learn new challenges, and we can talk more about that later on as we talk about the global thing, because that's kind of add a whole dimension to this. But one of the things that I learned kind of halfway through my career so far is the concept of servant leadership, and that's a concept that I first learned about in business school. And at first I really didn't understand what it is, but as I talked to my colleagues, my business school classmate, and some of the professors that was teaching this concept, it got deeper and deeper into me. And then I tried to apply it at work, and I found that it was very successful for me. So I would just spend a bit of time on that. And it's the dimension of leadership is not the whole thing, but but I think is interesting to hear. So this concept of servant leadership is not something new. It's really popularized by this researcher in the 70s. His name is Robert Greenleaf. And he studied a lot of different leaders in the world. Again, people who do not necessarily have big titles, right? But people who are recognized to have influence and to really be people who help make significant changes in the world and get to be known for the changes that they made, not because of their titles or their power when they actually was alive, for example. And a lot of it is about the leaders that really fit that more, and the leader that was successful in those things are the people that see themselves as the servant of the cause or the servant of the organization that they work at. That they see themselves, the main responsibility is the empowerment of other people through both setting the right goals, setting the right values, empowering other people, listening to other people in the team, and really focus on their well-being, on their ability to do well. And I found that was a very different aspect of leadership that kind of, it would take a while to learn about that. It would take a while to really understand that and see how it applies in real world. But once you see it and once you start internalizing some of that value, it becomes a very good set of reference to operate from. So to me, that's the aspect of leadership, that is really listening to the people that you work with, trying to understand them, trying to focus on how they can do better, how they can be happy at their work, and really stay strong to your value, because the value, that's the fundamental thing that help drive the organization together.
As an experienced leader, I'm sure that there might be some moments where you see some leadership quality in some of your team member, and you have this aha moment and say, this person can drive this project, this person can be leading the team, and then how do you, as a leader, right? How do you even empower that person more to become even growing into a leader?
I think that's a really good question, and that's another aspect, right? That aspect, I would say not every leader will do very well, because it's hard. It's hard enough to be a leader yourself, and now it's even harder to make other people good leaders or even better leaders than yourself. And I would say, it's even for me, I'm still learning how to do that. But my first thing would always be that once I see a potential leader in the team, the organization, my number one priority is to devote as much mentoring, support, resources as possible to that person, so that they can learn from my experience, but other experience as well, and they have the room and the kind of structure to start honing their leadership skill, getting the experience of being a leader. Again, right, it's not easy to have that. And I personally have been very fortunate to be exposed to a lot of that through my career, just like the example I talk about, servant leadership. But some other people might not have that exposure. And it's my job really to help them get that exposure. It's hard. I would say it's hard. And I think it also requires that person to have that motivation to really absorb and learn and challenge themselves. Because again, it's a challenge. It's not easy to break out of your what you think is good enough and be better than good enough, be the best in whatever they do, both in their professional work but also in the leadership development.
Thank you, Nguyen. So far we have been spending a good decent time to talk about what is the making of a leader. As you mentioned earlier, you're still learning in how to become a leader, and it's a nice segue into the second part, where I would like to dive a little bit deeper into the how and the why. So how to become a global leader and why it matters to all of us. So I want to go back and double tap on what you shared earlier in your diverse background, right? Across disciplines, multiple geo We all know that as a leader, it all starts with a mindset. But do you think that having the exposure to the global environment give you that edge advantage? Because thinking of like some of us here today who don't have that opportunity to get exposure, global exposure, but we need to foster that global mindset. So it's like chicken and egg kind of question. Where does it start?
Start now. That's the short answer. But like I shared with you all, I feel very fortunate that I had that experience and that the exposure through my whole life. And I think that's not easy to get. I recognize that, but that's also why I'm here trying to tell everybody about the experience and trying to inspire you. To go and grab the opportunities and when you can. I think that even in the last 20 years, between the time I first started joining the workforce to now, I think the ability to get a global experience, global exposure has increased immensely. The world is a lot more connected than before. I would say the younger team member even in our company, or even the younger people, teenagers as well as freshers in school, in colleges and university today, they really have the level of connection, the level of connectedness to what is global culture, global base of knowledge, far more than I have ever had when I was their age, or even later on, even when I was a young professional. So in a way, they have a lot more advantage now to learn and to be exposed. I think at the same time, it's still challenging because just having exposure and just having knowledge and ability to watch things on TikTok, on YouTube, getting to ChatGPT is one thing, but being able to really practice, the working globally, working with people from different culture, learning about different disciplines, like you mentioned, as an aspect of being a global leader and global professional, is hard. But I think that's one thing that I think Katalon really offers to everybody here, is that we are a company that is born global, that was born global. We are an organization that have a global customer base. And Tien here can share with you, how to deal with people all around the world. More than 50 countries, every single time zone there is, every single type of role and responsibility and industry there is, right? So just that is already an amazing aspect of the work that we do here. That by definition, our customer forces us to think globally. Our customer forces us to have a nice global mindset, and that also means we operate as a global organization. Right? We have people really around the world. Of course, with concentration in the U.S., Vietnam, and in India, but really elsewhere in the world as well, and in the future elsewhere. And even within these different big geographical regions, we have differences as well. In India, we have people kind of all around the country. In the US, we literally have everybody in every time zone. We have somebody in Hawaii right now, and we, whoever that is, good for them. And so even that aspect give us a chance to firstly work around the clock. At any given point, there's somebody in the company who's up and doing work, so you're never alone. That's for sure. And then and we have the chance to really be exposed from both with the customer, but also with colleagues, to different culture, right? Different geographical area, regulatory environment, work style. Professional style, working with a customer from, I would say from France, we have a couple. It's very different from working with somebody from, let's just say, the US or Canada or the Philippines, where we all have customers, right? So I think it's a great blessing for us. I think it's something that we should definitely cherish and really use look at it as a challenge because it's hard to do that well, but it is also a huge opportunity. Again, just to compare, when I first started out, I was in the venture capital world, and part of my job is to talk to startup all around the world. But I only talk to startups, and I only talk mostly, because of the way things were there. Right? I never get to talk to any new company in Asia because there was no startup in Asia back then. Most of the company I talked to was in Boston or in San Francisco, even though I was already a lot more fortunate than many other people whose customer base and target base was even more narrow and focused. But now, here, right, our sales team are talking to customers all around the world. Our marketing team is marketing to people, in all different corners of the world, different style. And for us, even for the finance team, for example, right, we have to understand a lot of the nuances of operating in different country, different jurisdiction, and communicate with them. Sometimes we need to use Google Translate to talk to them, and that's just the starting point, right? So again, I think there's a lot of opportunity to be exposed to that, and I would also highlight the last point, that is, even for some of us who might move on from Katalon in a few years' time, it's normal, all right? Do remember that you can continue to gain that kind of exposure by both keeping in touch with your colleagues, seizing opportunity to work with companies that have a global mindset like Katalon, and never stop learning. I think that's the key point, because who knows where you would be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and who knows what exposure, what global colleagues you might have in the future.
Yeah, I just want to dig a little bit deeper in how you embrace the challenges when you come back working in Vietnam. For some of us that worked abroad and then come back to Vietnam, we experience something called reverse culture shock. And for me, as an example, a reverse culture shock for me is, how do I pitch Katalon in Vietnamese in front of the Vietnam bank, right? And then I just want to understand some of the challenges that you face coming back to Vietnam and establishing yourself as a professional in Vietnam.
Well, I'm still working on that part. As you know, I haven't spoken a word of Vietnamese all this time around, right? So what do you think? I think you are 50 level above me when it comes to pitching in Vietnamese. I open my mouth and I think people would be like, what is he talking about? No, I agree. One thing that I felt that was interesting for me was going back to Vietnam. I knew that there would be a huge reverse cultural shock, but it's kind of like the shock that I get moving from one place to the other throughout my life already. I got a culture shock moving to Singapore, from Singapore to the US, East Coast to West Coast, and back to Vietnam, all different culture shocks as well. And I just roll it. I would just say, okay, I sounds like a funny guy for a while, and people might not understand me. Trust me, when I first got back here and spent time, a lot of people didn't understand what I was talking about. And it's not that it's not that I don't make coherent sentences. It's that I don't speak it in a natural way. I think we are firstly trying to integrate everybody together. The fact that we get to work with colleagues from different culture, even in Vietnam, obviously globally, and these colleagues globally get to come to Vietnam ever so often. That's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to really spend the time with somebody from a different culture, somebody who grew up in a different world, speak a different language, and work with a whole different set of people than you do, and learn from them and try to accomplish something together. I think what's amazing is in every single of our team, we have a multiculturalness, right? In every single organization. So I think that's a great opportunity. I think the company is spending a lot of time coming up with programs, especially enrichment program, leadership development program, that help inherently grow our people. And by growing well in this kind of environment, naturally you would have to be faced and exposed and overcome these global challenges. And the third thing is the company also have resources such as our personal development programs, as well as our different leadership path for people in the company to grow, right? Being a manager is a good way to learn to be a leader, right? I'm not saying, again, that's why I say it's not something that exclude each other. A manager would require you to learn how to be a leader, right? And so allowing somebody to grow into the managerial path, which is one of the two key career development paths in our company, is giving them the opportunity to learn by doing it, by working with the managers and leaders in the company.
So if you don't mind sharing, what is it in your growth plan that helps you still continue to stay relevant with the ever fast changing world as we are living in today?
Well, what I hope to be relevant, right? Nobody knows whether you can be relevant or not. I think it is by learning, by learning what is important for a company, an organization like ours. And that changes over time, right? That especially on the technology side, we need to know what technology, what innovation and what area of really technological advances that are relevant to us, so that we maintain the advantage as a technology company. But also, secondly, understanding our people, understanding what they need and what get them working well. Again, it's different. 20 years ago is different. 10 years ago is different, and now it's different. And we have to learn to do that. But I think what would help me a little bit is I do have the experience. I have some experience before, and I'm not afraid of sharing that experience and working with other people to take advantage of that experience and learning from new experience.
Yeah. So thank you so much for all your sharing. I feel like I get to have a very a heart-to-heart conversation with you with all the questions coming from my end. And I hope that these questions would also address some of the questions that you as an audience have here today. But I also want to spare some of the remaining time that we have and open the floor for any questions that you might have for Tien.
So I do. Hi, Tien. Thank you for your sharing, and I really appreciate that because product support team, I believe, is one of the team that exposed to more global people or client. We still struggling to deal with the global scale that we are at. So, is there any hint or tip that you can share how we can deal with a mass global client based on your experience? Because we have customers all around the world, and our team had to deal with multiple cultures, so we still struggle a little bit with that.
Yeah. Thank you, Tran. I think that's a great question, and it's something that we will have to solve as an organization together, right? Customer support is a cornerstone of our product success, of what we deliver to the customer, and it's so important for us. And I'm a big advocate of the product support team. Not just thinking about do we have the coverage, but also thinking about the path for the team in the future. This now we're moving a little bit into the kind of business strategy discussion, which we still have to figure out along the way. I would probably think that there are maybe 2 or 3 things that I would consider. One is really defining the role and the responsibility of the product support team, trying to maybe break down the full scope of customer needs into something that, for example, the product support team can do, something that the customer success organization can work on, and something that really is part of some other part of the organization, right? Because we can communicate with clients through many other venues. We can even, one of the other things is improving self-service support, right? Getting the community to be more proactive, more helpful to current customers, so that they can kind of help themselves or form user groups that can actually help themselves, especially in other countries, in other regions. so that there's a strong support network within the customer base to complement what you guys have. But I think the second thing is really having a longer term career path and development plan for the team, the customers, the product support team. I think that's a very big initiative, and that's something that I have seen other companies done well and benefited a lot from. That is, when you join as a first year or the junior support specialist, right? What do you learn? What do you expect to accomplish? How do you get to the next level? And then over time, where do you go in the organization? Because again, people who are working with customer, addressing their needs, are people who understand our product really well, who understand our customer really well, and they are the core DNA of what makes us good. So they can contribute in many other areas of the company, and they can grow into many other part of the company as well.
Thank you, Angela.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, I would love to thank you, Nguyen, for all the sharing. And I would love to I have two questions. One, throughout the experience, what was the biggest challenge as a global leader? And the second question, what are the key and absolutely crucial qualities that we need to have in order to overcome it?
All right, so first is my personal experience, and then the second one is even more absolute, the global. These are great questions. I think it's hard to kind of pinpoint one challenge. I would share maybe a few aspects, right? I think, for example, a few years ago, I had the experience of operating a couple of officers for my previous company around the world. We had people in the UK, we have some people in Norway, and then we had people in Singapore. And then all of a sudden we entered COVID-19 situation. Everything was shut down, right? It was incredibly difficult to even stay in touch with these colleagues around the world. And it was extremely uncertain. Everything was shut down. Everything was locked down. So you cannot even go to your office, let alone try to communicate and work with somebody halfway across the world, especially if they're also locked at home and they don't have access to their work stuff. So it was a big challenge, but it also taught me about the inherent risk of this global operation structure. It's not like we're all in one office in one city and kind of can go to each other place to get things done. We have to build resiliencies into our organization. And it also forces me to realize that I need to invest a lot more time in understanding what my colleagues around the world are doing and what personal, kind of local situation that they're in. Because, for example, during COVID-19, right, different countries have different restrictions, different rules, and in some country some people the rules are so different. You have to go and learn. You have to go and talk to people and really listen to them to figure out how to work with them well. I think that was a great learning experience for everybody, and forces us to think a lot about when we come back, right? How do we change and make our operation better, so that if something like that happens, or if something similar, something new happened to everybody, there's a way to maintain the operations. There's a way to make sure that everybody's safe and working well. So that's the first example. And I think the absolute qualities, it's really the same quality that make a good leader, but I would say just a sensitivity to differences, right? Or I would say in the more modern word, inclusivity. That is, you have to go into any situation knowing that there are differences in the way people work around the world, in their cultural preferences, in how they communicate. And you have to be open to it and embrace it really well. And that's a way for you to first get hear them well, right? You have to really be able to hear what they really are looking for and what they need, and come up with a solution that works best. It might not be the perfect solution, right? Working with a global organization means that sometimes there are things that you do that do not fit everybody perfectly, just because again of the diversity of needs that we have. But at least you need to be genuine in your quest to understand what they need and the differences, and truly genuinely empathize with that before you make a decision. I think the intention is important, the inclusivity is important, and the commitment to doing that all in everything that you do is very important.
Thank you.
I have a question for you. Okay, so I think that becoming a global leader is that you have to face a lot of issues and problems, and I think that it means that you have to make a lot of decisions too. So my question for you is that how do you approach decision making when you have to face a lot of complex and diverse perspective from different cultures? Regions and countries.
I think this is a great question too, and it is an aspect that I did want to mention. But I try to be brief because it seems like we run out of time. But I would say, right, as a leader in this organization, I don't make decision in a vacuum. I don't make a decision all by myself. I consult with my colleagues. I consult with my team, and sometimes I need other people's approval as well, right? What we call in a strong organization, there's consensus-based decision making, and there's also checks and balances. That is, decision needs to really get the alignment and the buy-in of different stakeholders. So that's one thing that's important, right? Always know that your decision, no matter how small or how large it is, should really take into account other stakeholders who are relevant to the decision. And that helps really make the decision a little less all about yourself and yourself trying to solve a big problem than working with other people, collaborating with other people, and really embracing their opinion in making that decision. But it also helps because even if that decision is difficult, right? Other people are working with you on that. And that's why we are a team here, right? That's the difference. That's why again, it's not about going to school and just trying to accomplish something for yourself. We are trying to accomplish something for the whole organization, and therefore we make decisions as a team. We make decisions within the framework of the organization. So it's hard. Sometimes we take a long time to make a decision, and sometimes we have to be cognizant that the decision that we make sometimes is not universally popular, like I said, right? But we have to be genuine about that. We have to be transparent, and once we make that decision, we need to be very deeply. We need to deeply believe in that and feel very strongly about that, because that's the way to get other people to buy in and support your decision.
I also have a
yes,
question for you. But before the question, I would also like to build up on one interesting fact that you shared earlier regarding what Katalon has to offer for our growth. I think the way you share just show how generosity our leaders are to say at first what the company has, and also like the program and also the opportunities. But I think when I heard that, and it just reminded me of the story, the book name, The Story About the Seagull and the Cat Who Taught the Flight. Okay. So basically, that book is simply about the cat who actually accidentally get the egg of a seagull, and then the mission was to raise it and then also taught the seagull to fly. A lot of people read the books and saying, okay, the cat was so good. I mean, just a talented leaders or like master seafood to actually teach a different species to do something that the cat doesn't know. So back to what you shared earlier, I think most importantly, and I'm speaking to you as an individual contributor, not HR person. Somehow it's related, but the company may have a lot of programs and also opportunities for all of us, but you are the one who owns it. So you need to actually, there are leaders here. And also what I share about Katalon, even though I'm just a newbie here, be open is the value, right? And then we have leaders here. And if you don't just come to knock their door or actually just say hi to them and own your career, then even the company has a program or opportunity for us, then we will never fly. So that's how I see.
Yeah.
So now back to the question. The topic is how to become a leader, a global leader. And what you shared was what it takes to become a global leader. My question is what does it take away from you? Or in other words, is there anything that you need to let go of to become a global leader?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. Of course, time, you have to invest in it, right? And it's, Malcolm Gladwell said you have to 10,000 hours doing something to become a pretty good expert. And it's a lifelong thing. You have to be committed to it. And I think that's something that you should, again, own yourself, right? Do I want to be somebody that can operate globally? Do I want somebody that would spend a lot of time, spend a lot of energy trying to understand, not let alone lead, right? Understand other people of different culture, and that means I have to go and brush up on my language skill. I need to learn, get really good at ChatGPT so that I can understand other things and communicate well, things like that, right? It is an investment. It is a huge amount of investment, and I have to be comfortable with hearing people saying no, or like run into communication problem. And for example, early in my career, I had that issue. I had to work with somebody from Bangladesh for the first time. And at first I was just being a typical person, ignoring their cultural preferences, ignoring their kind of what is important to them, and just say, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that, right? Just the work stuff. And then after a while, it got to the point where I realized all the things that I was asking them to do or trying to get through them, just not coming through. And they were very smart. They were extremely good at what they were doing. So it's something to do with just the way we were communicating with each other. And I had to take a step back and really open up myself to them, to that colleagues, and spend a lot of time trying to just get aligned together on how we communicate with each other, what was wrong before, what we can do to improve. And the thing is, right after that colleagues left the company. So again, a lot of my investment sort of went away because now I had to work with somebody else. But at least for me, after that experience, I learned that I had to commit to do that with everybody in my team. And that colleagues actually became a good friend of mine. And so we worked much better after that than when we were together in the same organization. But it was a good learning experience. And from then on, I know that it's a big commitment that we have to make.
I just want to see if there's any question from the online audience. No question? Okay. I just want to quickly call out and see if anyone want to verbalize the question before we wrap this up. Okay. All right. So I guess we had time. Thank you so much, and Tien, for your time, your generosity in sharing the wisdom and your experience here today with us with the topic of how to become a global leader. We've learned a lot, and thank you so much.
Thank you everybody. Thank you for your great questions, and very pleased to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Time for the food.